Ida for asking my Bill, what did you expect? When my daughter didn't want him at her birthday. My daughter 14 loves her uncle a lot, but she is angry at him right now. When we were walking home together one day, we saw an emaciated dog tied to a pole in front of an empty house. The owner must have abandoned her there. My daughter had tears in her eyes. I was already thinking of calling my wife and asking if I can bring the poor dog home before my daughter begged me. Took a picture, sent it to my wife with a couple of texts, and she said yes. When my Bill first saw the dog, he said he's probably gonna die by the end of the week. Don't know why you bothered taking him home. She teared up a bit at that. It's been over a month now and he is still alive and recovering well. My daughter still didn't want him at her birthday party though. She is still upset at him for saying that we should have left her dog there and asked us not to invite him. He hasn't apologized for his remarks either, insisting that he was only being realistic. Bill was really upset, saying that I'm wrong for denying him the opportunity to celebrate with his niece. I asked, what did you expect? His wife then said that I was being petty with the comment. ETA before anyone else says that I'm rashly severing familial relationship. It's not like I left no avenue for reconciliation. My daughter really loves visiting her grandparents, and my Bill lives with them. She is still seeing them once every few weeks, so no, I did not burn the bridges. I did not go nuclear. It's just the birthday party. Ida for asking someone who falsely accused my nephew for a crime he didn't do to apologize in public, or else I will escalate the situation to ministry. Rather than accepting compensation money from their parents as apology, my sister's son-nephew is under my care now as she is hospitalized from an accident, and my brother-in-law is in overseas working for 3 months. One day a classmate of his falsely accused him of stealing his wallet, posting in social media and everything saying bad about my nephew, like this fail student who can't get good grade resorts to steal people's wallet for money. The issue is my nephew was not even at school that time. He was doing a medical checkup for some back sore. I went to school and confronted the teacher there and also the classmate parents. I show proof that my nephew was not in school that day. I demand nothing big. I just want the classmate to publicly apologize in the school assembly saying he made a mistake and my nephew did not steal the wallet. However, the classmate parent don't want to do it with justification saying their son reputation will drop if he did that and might affect his chance to be selected for the national team and university selection, and offer me like $5,000 to forget about this. They have the audacity saying my nephew is not high profile and people will forget about all of this after a while. I refused the money as my nephew's reputation is more important. Consulted with my sister and brother-in-law already. They support my decision and say that I will escalate this whole issue to the Ministry of Education if they did not apologize next week. Ida for being petty and escalate the whole situation by not accepting the money to cover up the false accusation. Ida for calling my husband inconsiderate for messing up our son's food order. I'm 44F, husband is 44M, sons are 11 and 13. 11 had some medical procedures today and asked for takeout from one of his favorite restaurants. I called my husband to ask him to order because I was driving. Husband ordered and picked it up. 11 asked for his chicken and husband brings him a wing. 11 starts crying because he eats drumsticks, like every kid. Husband only ordered a wing and thigh. 11 has always eaten the same pieces, drumstick and breast to be specific. Husband got mad that I didn't tell him exactly what to order. I said, if you don't know what your 11-year-old eats, then you don't know him. For background, we order from this place every month or so for over a decade. We each get the same things every time. Husband and I order equally. He handles the food cooking and takeout about 75 of the time. A little bit later I told husband that I don't want to fight, but this is exactly what I'm talking about when I say he's not considerate. That all three of us feel like he doesn't care about us when he does this kind of stuff. I told him that 13 said dad always forgets the important stuff when he found out why 11 was crying. We all feel like he doesn't care when he forgets basic stuff about us. He dismissed me saying that doesn't mean I don't care about you. I said we feel like you don't care, Karen, you can't tell us how to feel. I've come to realize over the last year or so that my husband is inconsiderate, not just forgetful. Other examples: he will eat the kids' last of a food or snack and not ask if they want it. I had a leg injury this year in a cast and walker and he left things in the walkway, even after I pointed out there was stuff in my way and I can't get around. He had to take care of 13's birthday cake because of my injury and didn't get candles. 13 was upset and husband got mad that no one appreciates that he got the cake. We've been together 23 years and he's never gotten me a cake, let alone put candles in it. His birthday is 6 weeks before mine. I always get him a cake or special dessert, put candles in it and sing happy birthday with the kids. So Ida for calling my husband inconsiderate over a minor thing like messing up a food order. Ida for calling security on strangers using the gated community's pool and amenities. Never thought I'd sound so much like a Karen. But it's a lot more complicated than that. I 38F live in Fort Lauderdale, Florida in a community of about 40 homes and it's fully gated, so after some time you really get to know who lives in what house and who they typically have over as guests. Also, if you know anything about FL, this is the time of year many tourists flock to the area for warm weather. In our community, there's also a small rec center for families and has a gym and outdoor games hangout pool area that's paid for with residents' monthly HOA fees. My house is also directly next to the rec center, so my backyard is essentially attached to it and I can see everyone who uses the pool area. In the last 2 months, I've noticed huge groups of strangers and families show up for hours on the weekends to use the space. Music absolutely blaring until 1-2 a.m., screaming kids everywhere. And they'll just ruin the space by leaving their trash hanging around and not cleaning up after themselves. I haven't done or said anything to the guests directly, but last weekend was kind of my breaking point. I have a trampoline in my backyard for my kids, but kids of the random families using the pool ran into my backyard and started jumping around on the trampoline. My dog was also outside during that time and they tried to feed him chips and other snacks they had. The whole situation just made me so anxious because I didn't want my dog to get sick or have the kids soaking wet from the pool to slip and get hurt on my property and have it be tied back to me. I immediately went into the pool to try and find their parents, and when asked whose guests they were, all of them said one guy who lives down the street, Quinn 30s. After talking to him I found out he's basically been putting up ads on Facebook Marketplace where he's renting out our community rec center to random families and tourists in the area for cheap. Primarily, it's for families who are staying in nearby hotels that don't have nice amenities, and they come here instead. I thought it was absolutely absurd that he would do this with no thought for the others who live here, and let strangers in who he knows nothing about and won't even clean up after themselves. Myself and multiple other residents asked Quinn to take down his ad on Facebook and he refused, so we called the security on his guests and they were asked to all leave, and Quinn is facing huge fines from the HOA for overstepping the guest policies. He's now calling me and others anondeletists for not wanting strangers here, and while the majority of families here are happy inside with us, there are a few who think we should have just let it be. So AITA for continuing to use my bathroom even though my wife let our daughter use it. I know this probably sounds silly, but I've been having fights about this with my wife for over a week and I don't feel like I'm in the wrong, hence why I decided to make this post. So me, my wife and our daughter live in a house that has 3 bathrooms. Our bedroom has an ensuite bathroom. My daughter's room also has one and there's one downstairs. Just over a week ago we started renovating my daughter's bedroom and bathroom. She's been staying in the guest room upstairs, but for some reason my wife told our daughter that she could use our bathroom when she's getting ready in the morning. I disagreed with this because I get ready at the same time as she does. I'm getting ready for work while she's getting ready for school and I also need the bathroom. Despite daily flights I didn't back down and I'm still getting ready in my own bathroom, but my daughter also refuses to use the downstairs one and she's been using ours at the same time. My wife keeps calling me a man-child and immature and she claims I should just go downstairs every morning, but I don't feel like I'm in the wrong. So AITA here? AITA for hiding family heirlooms when my family visits. I 42F am one of 5 children, and my father died when we were very young, leaving my mom and my 4 siblings. My parents have collected a lot of cool things over the years. When my mom downsized to a condo after all the kids had left home, she got rid of a lot of items that she no longer had room for. We all had things that we were sentimental about, and as one of the younger siblings I didn't request anything, although I had strong connections to a few items. After everyone had decided on what they wanted, I wound up with 3 things that were of little to no financial value, but I treasure them for the memories they represent. The first item is a tractor seat that is bolted to a butcher block to make a funky chair. The second item is a 1970s tacky spice cabinet. And the third thing is a set of stoneware pastry bowls that my mom had saved green stamps to buy. Over the years my siblings have sold, destroyed, or lost the items that they got. And now, when they come to my house, they often comment on the things I have. I didn't know you got those. I've always wanted that, etc. My mom even told my sister behind my back that she could have tractor seat chair that I had because I wasn't really using it. My mom saw that I had it in the garage because I was protecting it from the weather and it needed sanding. For other reasons, I had got no contact with this sister. Well, she texted me out of the blue to ask if she could have the chair. I told her it was sentimental for me and I would prefer to keep it. She tried to guilt trip me about how she didn't have anything left from our parents. I didn't reply. Conversation over. I also knew that if she had it, it would likely be ruined. Since she is a bit of a hoarder and doesn't take care of things, she has let a flooding basement go on unresolved. unresolved for years, and her entire house smells like mildew. So bad that I can smell it on her whenever I'm around her. She refuses to acknowledge there is a problem. Shortly after the text exchange, my mom came to house sit for one night, and I hid the chair in question, because I was worried she was going to have my sister come over and grab it, or take it for her. Then again recently, my mom asked me if she could have the spice rack to give to my sister. I said that I was using it, which is true. We will be hosting Christmas this year and I plan to hide the bowls, the chair, and the spice rack while my family is visiting. I'm starting to feel like I don't really want anything to do with my family at all, including the heirlooms. I'm not someone who is generally attached to things, especially when it starts to affect a relationship. But I feel on principle this is about more than the heirlooms and more about boundaries. I feel bad about hiding things, but AITA for kicking a friend and his wife out of my house during their visit for refusing to take off their shoes. Background: one of my best friends generally, they were just coming to visit normally. When they arrived, I informed them politely that I would prefer they not enter with their shoes on, especially considering that the day before there was a massive cleaning spree all over the place and I'd like to maintain that environment as it was. He mentioned that it wasn't a big deal, and that he's generally a very hygienic person personally and can guarantee that his shoes aren't going to cause any issue. I informed him that I don't see how his personal hygiene practices have any particular relation to the cleanliness of his shoes, and declared that I have no particular interest in his personal life and what he does, but that he should accept my desire given being in my house, considering I would have done the same were I at his. He then said I should just get over it and not turn it into a problem, expressing the thought that it's not like I'm going to tell them to just sod off just for this stupid shit. So, that's just exactly what I did since they asked for it. Now, nearly everyone in our friend group thinks I massively overreacted, in that it's okay to have some kind of boundary or rule, but not to the point of turning away somebody coming to visit because it makes me look like a huge dick. I told them that there are a multitude of pragmatic reasons that perfectly justify not being in people's houses with shoes on. But I don't have the time to debate that with every single individual who shows up to my place. Also, I was not specifically trying to make it a concern or difficulty. Removing your shoes barely takes 10 seconds or less. Mindlessly arguing about it, however, is the kind of thing that does waste the time of human beings. And it was at this moment I was blocked from the group chat. To me, this just showed their true colors anyway, so I don't really care. But I'd like Reddit's opinion on this. AITA for kicking out my girlfriend mom after I caught her looking through my personal stuff. I am 25 and my girlfriend F27 live together, and I own my own house in the Chicagoland area. Recently my girlfriend invited her mom to visit the city after not seeing her mom for a year. We offered for her to stay at my house in the guest bedroom. The mom isn't in the best financial situation, so my girlfriend figured this would be a great opportunity for her to experience something outside her small hometown. My girlfriend also warned me that her mom is very noisy beforehand. She stayed the past 2 days till I caught her in my home office while I was at work downtown. There is a Ring camera hidden in the office. On the camera I saw her walk in and snoop around. She went thought my file cabinets and looked at sensitive stuff such as my tax returns, bank statements, and other documents. She also attempted to input the passcode on my safe multiple times. Gun safe and import documents like birth certificate, passports, and SS cards, as well as opening my laptop to see if it was unlocked. She didn't take anything but went through it all. When I got home from work, I immediately told her to leave the house because I didn't trust her or appreciate her going through my stuff. I also accused her of potentially stealing stuff because I don't have cameras in the other parts of my house before kicking her out. My girlfriend didn't appreciate me kicking out her mom, leaving her to sleep in a motel my GF paid for. My girlfriend thought I was over-exaggerating it even after showed her the footage. I thought I was valid for my actions. However, my girlfriend told me I was warned about her issues, then also told me it was my fault because I should have locked off that part of the house if I didn't want her going. Thought it was. I think I was justified for kicking her out. AITA for kicking out my girlfriend mom after I caught her looking through my personal stuff. AITA for making my brother drive 30 minutes to come pick up his daughter who has been living with me at 12 a.m. cause she stole my car. So some context: my niece has been living with for the past 4 months cause her parents are going through a messy divorce and they don't want her around to witness it, so they sent her to come live with me. She has always been a pain since she moved here. IDK how her parents deal with her full time since she couldn't follow even the simplest ground rules, which were be quiet after 1 a.m. She wasn't allowed to use my car and I didn't want any complaints about her grades from her parents. So the other day I was out late working on closing a deal, and by the time I got back home at around 8 p.m. and when I got back home my second car was missing from the garage. I rang up her phone but she didn't answer it, so I was up waiting. waiting for her to get back home. Once she got back home I was pretty pissed. So I confronted her about taking my car without my permission. She was unapologetic about it, and this was basically the last straw. So I called her dad, my brother, to come pick her up since I wasn't going to deal with this anymore and I wanted her out. So he drove the hour to come pick her up and take her back to their home. In the morning I got several aggressively worded messages from him about the previous night's events. AITA for not rejecting my boyfriend's family's Diwali gift before accepting it. My boyfriend's mother gifted me $21 for Diwali, which I was totally not expecting. She gave me an envelope when I was leaving after the celebrations and I was surprised, thanked her, and gave her a hug. My boyfriend later told me I was supposed to reject the gift, and only accept it after they insist I take it. I learned this is a cultural thing. This made me feel terrible because in my culture as an American, I feel rude denying gifts in any shape or form unless it's like a really inappropriate scenario like work or something. I was actually mildly uncomfortable with her giving me money, since I didn't feel that I deserved anything and didn't bring them a gift, but didn't want to reject it and make her feel uncomfortable. This is because I also have been on the side where I offer help, advice, or a physical gift and feel bad when it's unwanted by the recipient. I feel like I've offended his mother for not being humble enough to reject the gift the first time she handed it to me. Then I realized that in the past I had sent his sister a Venmo of $101 for her wedding, after which she sent it back to me. At the time was confused and thought I made her uncomfortable by sending her a wedding gift. But now, as I think about it, was she expecting me to insist that she take my wedding gift after she rejected it the first time, like send the Venmo again? I feel so weird and like I'm the asshole in his whole family's eyes. AITA for splitting the bill at dinner and not letting my boyfriend pretend he paid. I 24F have been dating Ben 26M for 8 months. For context, Ben and I are from different income brackets, and Ben has expressed that he sometimes feels a little bit weird about this because he is a gentleman at heart, but he says it's hard to treat me since I'm not really impressed by his gestures. I've said many times that I'm not concerned about these kind of things either way, but it comes up periodically. Last night Ben and I went to dinner with 6 of my friends. There were 3 men in total and 5 women. At the end of the dinner the 2 guys, Max and Harry, said they would get the bill, as the guys usually do when we're out. Ben quietly said to me that he wasn't really comfortable with the guys paying for his dinner, so I said I'd chip in with the bill. Ben said thank you, but could he chip in and then I could pay him back afterwards because he didn't want them to know I was paying. This struck me as totally absurd because firstly, it's an unnecessary step. Second, even split the cost was something I wasn't sure he would realistically be able to cover. And third, I felt like he was trying to enter a pissing contest with my friends, which was just childish. I said no, I would just pay, and then turned to everyone and said I'd chip in a third of the bill. No one batted an eyelid, but Ben was sulking. He's now mad at me, saying I emasculated him and made him look bad in front of my friends. I think he's overdramatizing it because my friends couldn't care less and he needs to get over himself. Am I in the wrong for not letting him save face? AITA for telling my dad they can't come for Christmas. My 33M wife 29F is pregnant with our second child and her due date is on Thanksgiving. Since we've been getting closer to our due date, my parents 64F, 59M have been talking about when they will come meet their new grandchild. They live 5 hours away. It should be noted that I have one sibling, but she is decidedly child-free, so these are their only grandkids. When our first was born, it was the end of September and my parents visited the week he was born. They visited again during the week of Christmas. I had told Mom that we would prefer if they visited before Christmas week, but my parents either ignored me or forgot about that conversation. It was fine, but we were exhausted with a 3-month-old and my wife had to spend the end of her maternity leave with her in-laws. This time, I made it clear to my mom that we wanted to have the holidays without any visitors so we could focus on our newly grown family, especially because the newborn period is a very vulnerable time for the mother and I don't want a repeat of last time. She said she understood. While they were visiting last during my son's birthday, they were hashing out when they would visit baby too. My dad said why don't we come for Christmas or something like that. I told him no and they could come sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas, but not during Christmas week. Last week, my dad and I were talking on the phone about their plan and he brought up coming for Christmas again. I told him I already said no. Our doors will be locked during that week. He's been pissy lately whenever we talk and saying things like the holidays supposed to be spent with family and you wouldn't keep your in-laws from visiting. My mom is asking me if we'll reconsider because my dad feels really hurt and she said I'm a jerk for not even taking it to my wife. So, AITA for telling my dad they can't come for Christmas? Ida for telling my Dill she wasn't invited since she is an embarrassment at dinner since she is a picky eater. My son's on my ass, so I am writing here for different opinions. My son has been married for 2 years at this point. We get along as well as water and oil. I just keep my distance because I don't like dealing with her. She is a horrible picky eater. I don't know why, but truly I don't care because she is a pain at restaurants. We try to go anywhere and we have to change places multiple times so she can have something to eat. She makes the waiters go through hoops so she will have something she likes. And if anything is wrong, she will bitch about it or pout in the corner. Example, she got a quesadilla, removed everything on it, and when it came out she sent it back because there was sour cream on the side. It wasn't touching anything and she made a huge deal about her food being wrong. She doesn't have allergies either. What really made me dislike her is that she complained about the food at a funeral. They had a sandwich spread but went on about it's gross multiple times. So I had a dinner yesterday, and I invited everyone but my son's wife's son. Wasn't invited either, but he was on a business trip. My other Dill posted it online, and I got a call from Dill. She was pissed I didn't invite her and asked why. I told her it's due to her being an embarrassment at dinners and I won't be inviting her to dinners. She called me a jerk and hung up. Now my son is on my ass and I am wondering if I should apologize or not. Edit, I'm going to say it. It doesn't matter if she has an eating disorder or is on the spectrum. Both those groups know how to act at a funeral or restaurant. It may be harder, but they can. Ida for telling my father I will always choose my cat over my half-brother. I 18 meters used to have a relatively good relationship with my half-brother 19. Despite the fact that my dad cheated on my mom with his mom with the excuse that he thought my mom would never be able to provide a child. I never blamed my half-brother for it and we got along reasonably okay up until I found out he has been sleeping with my then girlfriend 18. Blocked and haven't talked to him for 4 months now. My cat and my half-brother have the same birthday, so over the past several years I would attend my half-brother's birthday party in the morning and throw my cat's birthday party afterwards. Yesterday though, I decided to have an early, extra long party for my cat instead with my mom and some friends. They all adored Claire. I didn't go to my half-brother's birthday, which caused my dad to call and say that I was being a bad brother for not forgiving my half-brother and reconciling. So I told him that my half-brother was the one who betrayed me and that I am not interested in conciliation. He asked me if my cat is more important, so I said yes, and that I would always choose my cat over him. Now I have 3 aunts, all my mom's sisters, all hate dad for cheating on her, but one of them said I was a bit too harsh on him. Was I too harsh to my father? Ida for telling my kid's teacher I wasn't upfront because she and her son are gossipers. My son Dawson is in the 6th grade and has been rather anxious. He has to give a victim impact statement and has been preparing for it all this week. He's trying to keep it together and has been sleeping in my bed all those months. He has an oral report due on Friday for his social studies class, and obviously he can't do it because he has to be in court. I spoke to his teacher, Mrs. T, and said he has an appointment on Friday that he can't miss and if he could possibly do this report on Monday. She asked why can't he do it on Thursday. I said that was a totally fair question, but there's something going on with him and he's emotionally distraught. I don't want him breaking down in class and being made fun of. She said there was no good excuse to punt an oral exam because Dawson has the jitters. I said it's way more than that. She said he can give his oral report Thursday or Friday or take a 0. I said I understand and he'll take a 0. Your class isn't important in the grand scheme of things anyways. My son's emotional health is way more important. She was surprised that I said to give him a 0 because I'm a very involved dad. She told me to be upfront with her about what was going on and I said I'm not telling you anymore. Later I got a call from the vice principal who said that I had a hostile conversation with Mrs. D and requested that she give my son a 0. I said that's not really accurate. I told him off the record that my son has to give a victim impact statement on Friday. He's a mess. He quickly said by all means let him stay home tomorrow and Friday. He'd work something out with his teachers. I said I do not want anyone knowing his business. He assured me B wouldn't give any reason. I got an email from Mrs. D who said she wished that I had been more open about what was going on because she cares about Dawson. She's worried about him now. I responded that I didn't tell her details because you and especially your son, he's in the same grade as Dawson are gossip queens and I don't trust you. She told me that what I said was very hurtful. I said then don't ask and don't fish for information. Edit, the VP did not disclose why my son is out tomorrow and Friday. He said it was an approved absence and to send makeup work home today. Only Blabbermouth responded and fished for details after getting the email. Ida for telling my niece it's her fault that my horse kicked her. I 27F have a niece 14F who is my older brother's 36M and his wife 34F daughter. She's a very sweet girl and she loves my horses and the other horses I board, which are my friends. My brother and his wife live in the city, while I live in my uncle's ranch on my mother's side in a different state. My brother and I have different moms but same dad. They sent my niece to come stay with me for a few months, which I greatly accepted. She's been good and she calls her friends back at her home state and FaceTimes her parents once in a while. She's a great help with feeding my animals and my horses. The only problem is, she doesn't know how to ride horses and sometimes teases the horses. I have two very young horses, a filly and a colt, which are very excited horses, and I don't really allow her in the field with them, as they like to kick and buck even when people are around. And I have a old stallion which was my first horse my uncle got me. His name is Rooster and he is 32 years old. That is my niece's favorite horse. She always wants to ride him, but I don't allow anyone to ride him and I don't ride him no more. He's very patient and kind, but he doesn't like anyone touching his back legs and his tail. When you walk behind him, he will kick, but when he knows you are there, he doesn't mind being touched back there as long as anyone approaches him in the front. Overall, he's a great horse. She will tease him with a lunging whip by tickling his back legs and his tail, trying to get him to kick. I have told her numerous times and warned her. She still continues to do it behind my back. Well, I told her to go get Rooster out of the pasture and into his stall. She went to go and get him and I heard a scream in the barn. I got over there and she was holding onto her leg, crying in pain, while Rooster ran back to the pastures. I asked her what happened and she said Rooster had kicked her left thigh, and I asked her if she touched him on the back legs or his tail. She said she pushed him on his tail to get him in his stall, and that's when he kicked her and ran off. She started cursing about Rooster and doesn't want to be around him. I told her it's her fault she provoked him and for not listening to me after so many warnings. I told her that bruise on her leg is a lesson now to be careful around bigger animals, especially ones that can kick at any moment. She can walk it off. And she called her parents after. They called me and told me that it was my fault for not supervising her and that they're gonna get her home. I told them everything but they won't listen, and my sil told me I need to get rid of Rooster. I told her no and hung up. Now I am wondering, AITA for telling my sister I'm tired of her enabling my daughter. When I was 16, now 32, I became a dad. I certainly wasn't prepared, nor was my girlfriend turned ex. It was a massive challenge, and by the time our daughter was 5, my girlfriend and I were bickering in front of our daughter, having screaming matches when she wasn't around. My girlfriend decided that motherhood didn't fulfill her, so she moved away. I am so lucky that my sister 34F stepped up and slipped into that female role model role. The developing struggle here is that my daughter 16F, who by this point I've told everything to, uses that stuff against me as her go-to move. When she comes home drunk, it's always, yeah, well, at least I'm not a teenage parent unlike someone else. When she gets so many detentions, I get asked to come in to talk to the teacher, same response. Nearly kicked off her cheerleading team, same story. Sneaks boys into the house, same response. When I tell my sister these things, her only retort is, well, she's not wrong, and can you blame her? Poor girl has no mom. My case to my sister is that my having been a teen dad is not a 24/7 green light for my daughter to run wild, and nor is she comes from a single-parent household. I told her I'm tired of her never once saying, "Oh my God, that behavior can't be allowed, I'll speak to her." My sister says I'm trying to dictate her relationship with my daughter. My case is, I want her to help me and not just excuse everything. AITA for removing my 23 son from life insurance and not including in will because he disowned me. I am a 43F currently serving in the Army for over 18 years. I have 3 children, 25F, 23M, 17M. Over the past few years my 23-meter son has been genuinely upset that I will not transfer my GI Bill to him. Those unfamiliar with the military, service members are able to transfer their education benefits to their spouse or children after serving a certain amount of time. However, I accidentally exhausted my GI Bill. My daughter and oldest son never really showed interest in college, nor were my son's grades of the best. Once my son moved out after HS, our communication was minimal. Our relationship prior to him moving out was a little strained. As a parent, I hope I am not the only one to say my son and I just did not get along and could never seem to connect as he got older, and got worse the older he got. About 2 years ago of him going no contact, he messaged me, not to ask how we were doing or anything, but straight to the point that it's my fault that he no longer qualifies for grants due to our incomes combined and why I did not transfer my GI Bill to him. I informed him that I had exhausted it and that he is more than welcome to speak to a recruiter. He then said I should have set $5,100 aside each month to pay for his college. At this point I call him entitled and told him I don't owe him anything once he moved out of my household. Summarized conversation: we go no contact again for a little over a year, and recently another message straight to the point asking how I exhausted my GI Bill. Again told him he can go see a recruiter about it. The less this conversation still ended on that I should be responsible for his college. Let it be clear, before I joined the army I was a single parent. Single parent having my first child at 17. Living in poverty making less than $11K a year. I joined the army at 25. Paying for college tuition out of pocket was never an option. I did the best I could as a parent and I know I would never win Mother of the Year. In both conversation I did apologize for the mistakes I made along the way, as it's clear they bother him. But this conversation ended with him stating he does not view me as his mother and blocked me on everything. He made it clear to his sister that he does not view me as his mother and I am nothing more than an egg donor. It is time for me to update my life insurance and do a will and I am considering excluding him. WIBTA?